wiped than we are to have a bunch of rats running around, because we saw that in EMEA earlier today, where there were a lot of teams that would lose a member or two and then they would sort of continue on. That's not how this has gone down, really. We have had a lot more full squads taken out at the same time, and I think that's really affecting Noble, who have just, lost a member on rotation and twice now, and it has really cost them.
I mean, I hate to bring it up because it's kind of unfair to the teams as they figure out the meta, and we know that there's been a drastic shift towards this Valkyrie meta, but we have seen teams kind of take Valkyrie ults that just, you got to wonder, what did they do 2 weeks ago prior to everybody playing Valkyrie? What did they do differently then, and how much do they feel they can get away with it? I really, really think that that has disrupted it. And you look at a team like Noble, they don't play a Valkyrie. I mean, they are the one, I guess you could say, traditional comp that we see. They know how to operate around it. They've had very good performances, but I think that people around them are kind of throwing a wrench into other teams' plans. And until that gets figured out, I think we will continue to see some of the chaos unfold early just due to the Valkyrie meta.
Yeah, it's definitely been something that teams are just in spots that you wouldn't expect them to be otherwise, that you would normally have priority on the rotation for Absolute Monarchy. Not one of those teams, though, have been playing the edge of zone quite a bit recently, and it has to do with the fact that they're landing all the way up here over by Climatizer. They don't have to get involved until a lot later, and weirdly enough, it's kept them relatively consistent, relatively high middle of the pack, because they get the chance to pick and choose their engagements as they make their way in.
I think we all kind of got surprised when we saw just how late they were to that fight.
Oh yeah.
Last game, it's like, oh, there's no way there's another team out here. And then Absolute Monarchy's like, oh yeah, by the way, we finally made it, guys. They haven't been graced with zones coming their direction yet. We'll see if that does happen, but I think you're right. I mean, zones haven't really said, hey, you know what, guys, why don't you just make it in early? They're like, we'll be there later.
Yeah, and I gotta wonder whether they're happy with it or not, because when you pick Climatizer, you've also got to know that there just are not a whole lot of zones up here. Even with the change out of this into Climatizer, with the fact that there is a lot more playable space right now, the fact remains that this isn't a very common sort of place to play out your end game. There aren't a whole lot of teams that are super experienced up here, and if you are dropping Climatizer, part of you has to be comfortable with playing Edge, even in this meta.
Would like to see more Climatizer endings. I've only seen a couple of zones up there, period. They're kind of on the western side of that. I don't really know where they're at. I don't know if it's just a matter of RNG. We haven't got it yet, but we'll now get a look. This looks like it's pulling more towards Lava Siphon. So we now have a bit better view on where these teams have to rotate. So for Absolute Monarchy, we'll have to make the longer rotation. Wait, is he willingly running a Mozam?
It seems like it. Mozam hits hard, man. It's got some nice range.
People, I mean, look, people talk about it all the time, and it did kind of technically receive a nerf in this last patch, but when they pulled together the choke on this, I'm not going to be surprised as I would be 6 months ago. All right, I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't. Maybe they find an Eva down the road and that thing takes a hike, but over a Mastiff, there are people that have been hypothesizing, if you will, that maybe the Mozam shows itself.
See if that ends up being the right move. As over here, BenchWarmers, they've made the right move and taken on a team with a little bit too much data on their hands. SHEEEEEEEEESH ends up falling for the sin of trying to figure out where the next ring would be, and BenchWarmers, they're going to have priority over that information and very quickly figure out that they probably got to leave soon.
BenchWarmers makes this rotation all the time to go through here. Coming down from frag, see some damage. We did see another team kind of on the top here, essentially paying them a visit, so they'll have the 1 KP. And it looks like Koala Bear and team are the ones kind of coming in.
We'll see if they end up taking any sort of engagement with the BenchWarmers that are up here as they're playing inside right now. Already did find a knock with the Sentinel just a little while ago. Miko was the one that did that, the one running the purple shields down there on the bottom of your screen, and maybe, just maybe, that's given them the confidence to take an engagement with the BenchWarmers. I wouldn't be too happy to see it, as that sort of push is ill-advised, especially into a caustic.
Oh my!
But hey, if you're taking out I'm Madness with the help of Sign Us Please, why not get in on that KP while you can?
I hate to say it, but they got way too comfortable up there. I don't think they anticipated another team coming up. You saw Rambo kind of get hit, and then out of nowhere, Sign Us Please. This is their general rotation. They start at countdown. They come down through landslide, and they normally rotate through this choke. BenchWarmers normally comes through Harvester. I think they just got comfortable up there, and when you get comfortable for even a half second, that's how quickly you can get punished.
Well, I want to see whether that ends up actually fully punishing them as well, because BenchWarmers haven't been killed yet, just knocked. And Sign Us Please ended up leaving before they finished the job, prioritizing this rotation. You take a look at their maps, and I don't think that they've got read on next zone. I think they're playing this just like it's game one, but it isn't. We are pulling away from where Sign Us Please just landed, and they're going to have to start playing the bridge rather soon.
It's hard to argue with the success that they've had, and BenchWarmers does recover from that.
Nice.
So not willing to commit to that. I think they knew that there were other teams within Harvester. I think without that scan on that beacon, I agree with you. I don't think they have a read on it. So they think if it is pulling to Harvester, then there's inevitably going to be a couple of teams in each choke. So it's hard to push that. I think that's why they kind of let them off the hook.
Yeah, don't want to get too caught up in any early shenanigans, which leaves us, even early on, with still 20 squads up. We've lost a single player, and that is it. Definitely our slowest game so far, as these teams really cannot be giving up kills. We're about to hit that halfway point in today's matches. This is our third game of the day. There are only 6 in total to accumulate points, so if you want to turn it on, if you want to feel comfortable as we approach that last game, this is where you've got to start having your real nice performances.
One of those teams being Noble. They do have themselves implanted directly in Lava Siphon and in the next zone. Manufacturing some KP is what they need to do. Meanwhile, down on the lower end, just below the tracks, Legacy MX under fire.
They end up taking one with them as well. It seems like Buff Pathfinder are going to be short a member, at least for now. Legacy backed all the way up, though, paying a lot of respect to that. And unfortunately, the barrel is a little bit too strong, but as they push out, we'll see if that ends up staying true, rather. Dressifix did get rezzed for now, and the Gibraltar ultimate will push them a little further back, but not really cause too many problems. So full reset for Buff Pathfinder as they push out towards Harvester and still find themselves inside of the next ring.
Yeah, I was going to say the bigger threat now when they make this rotation is not the team there, but now the team that is in Harvester. Luckily, Malice Mamba on that caustic can walk through that gas. They'll hold the door here. They have company. They don't yet know that there are no shields, so they're going to try and lock the door, let the rest of the team hold. Right now, Malice Mamba has not started healing, waiting for potentially a battery that doesn't seem to be available.
Yeah, it might be a thing where they don't want to give up that everybody needs to reset at the same time, but right now, Buff Pathfinder, I mean, I don't blame them for having a few weird plays, because they are really have to be on edge right now. There are a lot of entry points in and not enough caustic traps to go around. With the cooldown just coming off right now, they got another barrel available, but this isn't the normal situation where you see everybody set up and play real happy.
Let's choke for RCO. I actually really like this when the zone pulls towards this side of Lava Siphon. You can, when you're a caustic team, it's really easy to hold one direction and kind of poke out and get an idea on the rest of the squads. And you can see Holiday making use of the Valkyrie, trying to scout things out. They'll be met with potentially shots from Noble with the longbow. Last time we saw, they were in that building. So that's one way. Kind of send out a sonar. It's like, are you guys out there? Return feed? Yes. This longbow shot says we are here.
Shoot at me if I should know you're there. And everybody says yes, it's me. And you know what? It's actually it is something that is a little bit underrated about Apex that we don't get to talk about too much. Not everybody is even shooting for poke or shooting for Evo shield. Sometimes you're just shooting because you want people to know that you're around, especially in a Valkyrie meta where people can jump on top of you and honestly ruin your game if they don't know that you're around. It's actually a pretty nice move just to make sure that people know that you're inhabiting the building. Please don't land on us because it will go poorly for everyone involved.
You know, you made a call earlier when we were doing the EMEA broadcast similarly, and you said, oh, it's suppressive fire. And surprisingly enough, the teammates, it was when they were in the choke near landslide in the tunnel, and their teammates were actually still in landslide. So sometimes it is just like, it's like a small dog with a big growl. You haven't quite ran into the big dog yet, which is when they're all together. So it's like the small dog that sounds real scary. You're like, oh, wait, should I pause? And sometimes it's enough of a pause to put the brakes on things.
And we'll see if that ends up continuing here, as we still have a lot of Valkyries that I'm sure will be itching to use their ultimates as the next zone gets revealed. We're finishing off the close in just a little while, but I am really nervous for what zones 3 and 4 will bring us, especially now as Bad Boys hanging out in here haven't really had the chance to participate in the game yet, but it's going to very quickly get pushed into high gear, and that's when you got to perform. If you're not finding KP early, if you're waiting until placement, you really have to be able to win your 1s, win your 2s, and be able to outperform when it comes down to it.
Trying to get eyes on where Sheesh is. They're not in this perspective. I don't know if maybe they're on the western end of Lava Siphon. The majority of our teams moving towards this eastern side where the zone presumably is pulling, each truck or each small building occupied. There is still room for teams to move in, and here we go. They are playing on the outer zone on that southwestern side.
This is right near where they drop as well, so feels like home to these guys, as right outside of launch site is really where they are most comfortable. They got to watch their backs right now as the next zone closes, just make sure that nobody comes up behind them, but outside of that, being able to play the edge of zone and have a lot of safety here is one of the better positions, especially if they're looking for a little bit of positioning. Not sure whether that is that ever so poignant suppressing fire, or whether it's actually somebody over there, but either way, Sheesh relatively safe right now. Not too farmed up though on the shields, so they've got a ways to go until we've hit that late game where they really got to pull out the big streamer performances again.
Buff Pathfinder has met BenchWarmers here in Harvester, so outside of zone, right on the edge, and it looks like Buff Pathfinder will be the aggressor. They do have the turbocharger on this Havoc, so it can put out some damage rather quickly. Unfortunately, nothing hitting yet. Malice Mamba going to trigger the enemy traps. Hold on a second. Buff Pathfinder on the receiving end of a lot of damage.
So that's a lot to take back. He's just in return for Caustic Ultimate and a little bit of poke. BenchWarmers now could think about pushing, and as that Arc Star ends up finding a knock, it seems like that's going to be the move. Out here in Harvester, things are getting pretty wacky. The R99 and the Prowler, a very close range setup for Rambo, plays into exactly what you love to watch about this player. It is all about the hype moments, all about the lasers. And he's got those on lock. Even as he walks past the Caustic Trap, he doesn't have to care because he's Caustic.
They are running through Buff Pathfinder. One of the contenders for the spots today, BenchWarmers, we've seen them in the top positions, just not number 1 in one of these weeks. If they are going to get there, sometimes it's by way of taking out your competition, something that's been a bit of a hot topic as of late. But right now, that is BenchWarmers getting some early KP, unlike last game. But I mean, make no mistake about it though, Dia. They've been fragging out these first 2 games. It's no surprise they're continuing that trend.
Oh lord, Buff Pathfinder, they might be our first squad to fall. Remember, we're in zone 3, and Bursty's still alive, right on the edge of it as well. Ooh, might go down, but the Arc Star not quite going to connect. We'll see if he's able to heal up, but inside of that container, fish in a barrel, and it's really just one fish with one very, very sad barrel, as Bursty manages to stay alive for now. Doesn't look like he's being pushed on the highlights, and we're going to keep that 20 squads alive for as long as we can here in NA.
This is the first time I think we've had 20 going into round 3's closing. Don't know how many will be there when things end. Is presumably all the teams, only one team kind of on the outside. Yeah, Sheesh, you can see flying over there on the right. They do have Sussy on the outside. It looks like they, oh man, they are trying to go low ground. They're going under the bridge. What a flight path. What a flight path.
crazy. That was such an emotional roller coaster to watch them land as well, because we were like, no, don't land there, don't land there, don't land there. You can't do it. And finally, they managed to find a spot. It doesn't look like, at least kill feed wise, they've managed to go down just yet. Everybody still is holding out, still playing this game of chicken. But BenchWarmers, they're struggling to find their way in as they find a little bit of damage right here. Want to get that KP going, but end up getting ignited at the same time. Wicked from Sign Us Please has gone down though, and Syncdes joins him, leaving just Tempest to fight with this wingman. Finds a nice headshot, but it isn't enough as BenchWarmers find themselves their first couple kills of the game and take the first squad out.
I mean, this is a great spot to be long term. It's really hard to hold right now. Meanwhile, Sheesh actually lost a couple of members as well. Don't know if they'll be able to regroup, but keep your eye on the kill feed. The team is somewhat still alive, not fully out. Down goes a prize.
Ooh.
So Sheesh in a world of pain underneath there. It still shows 19 squads left. We don't know the full extent of the damage done because we are down to 51 players. There are some rats now.
Yeah, we got to be keeping our eyes on Sheesh here, as I want to see whether they're able to recuperate. Casuals seem to have held out on the side right now despite being very, very low HP, as that side of the map certainly was beholden to some action. Noble, though, not in the same vein, have really been playing this one quite slow over by Lava Siphon, and can continue to for a while now, as this zone is really not going to push them out of their building either. This is normally where they like to play, but oftentimes you see them controlling the open space a little bit more. Off the back of the first two games, they have really reined in their playstyle and are super averse to risks this time around.
Noble holds a spot that they can play into the next round, but the truck, if a team's not available to them, just to the northwest of them, as It's Timmy is finally out. That was Casuals that were the ones that took down Sheesh. So they are now out in 19th place, believe it or not. But it's to the west and northwest of this building where there's a truck and there's a small little head peak and there's some staircases closer to the command center. Those are going to be the desperation spots, one of them more of a commanding spot if one of the team lands. We do see a team already in this truck. It's the teams that will, that's the head peak right there. It leaves them exposed when you go in this early in round 4, but this is the time to try and move in. Right now with 18 teams, Dia, this is about to explode.
Yeah, we are really getting up here. I mean, ooh, lordy, even in the kill feed, we got BenchWarmers showing up as well, finding two, or actually finding one knock and managing to actually take out the member fully, find that thirst. Garrett finding some kills as well. Rackney doing his work. So really, as people start to fight for spots, things and squads that get cut down very quickly, seems like Absolute Monarchy are making their way in as well, and Noct continues to find picks. This time onto Bursty, moving us down one more squad as Buff Pathfinder finally meet their end.
Bonkers that we have 15 squads left, albeit potentially a rat or two with 49 players. The teams that are in this building, I mean, think about this zone and what's going to happen. That head peak I told you about underneath the staircase, just outside of there, those are the only ones that kind of have natural defense mechanisms to them. Everything else is out in the open. The truck that we saw, can you imagine if teams just decide this is our last hope? It's going to be insane. 15 squads, round number 5. This is crazy.
I'm about to lose my mind, J-How. I know I do play-by-play, but being able to actually pick up on all of the action that is about to explode is seeming like it's going to be an impossible task, as right now, everybody in the lobby has got to be thinking the same thing. I can't believe we have to go through 15 more squads. I can't believe we've been in here for so long, and we could still go out without a single point to our name. Bad Boys trying to avoid that right now, and Neanderthals up here right in actually one of the better spots, at least for the early zone control, are going to have to decide what they want to do with this roof. They're one of the only teams running the Octane right now, and they can relocate very, very quickly.
If you are a fan of violence, we are moments away from what might be the bloodiest round that you will see in any game. Tunnel now occupied. The teams that are in this building will spill out on top of each other. Lonely Fans down to a duo. They have a team right on the other side of them that doesn't see them yet. Here comes some shots. That's going to be Hero getting some damage in, but they are now going to have a team collapse on top of them. Hop right over. What a play here. Won't be enough to keep them alive, and the rest is about to unfold.
Okay, Blueberry still needs to push right out, and that's difficult, especially because the dome has gone down. I think that the res has come in the meantime, but look at the Gibraltar ultimate raining down from the sky! It really does rain cats and dogs here on World's Edge, and now we are into it, is in the kill feed. Another full squad wipe comes through, not just for Absolute Monarchy, but for the BenchWarmers as well. We got kills left, right, and center, and the rain from hell has not stopped yet.
There's still more!
Look at where Noble are playing as well. They're right in the center of all of it. Well, from the side, we got everybody on Neanderthals trying to make their way in. 8 of the Destroyers fighting for his life, using the Wraith Q to try and reposition, try and get to safety. Looks like he's gotten out away from the jaws of Absolute Monarchy, and Lonely Fans are not so lucky as Otama pushes right back in to finish them off, but eats the Arc Star in return. They go out, and Absolute Monarchy finish off that side of the map. Noble take another. BenchWarmers are coming from behind. Koala and Mika are lost in the sauce in the center, and the Sussy Bakas are being cornered on all sides. They can't find safety, and they gotta push down, but they're right into the jaws of the Neanderthals. There is no safe place on World's Edge, not till we cut these squads down by half.
Down to 6, and it will fall rapidly. The teams, there's been pure violence throughout this. All the ultimates were used. Keep a look at the top right of your screen. BenchWarmers still in this. Absolute Monarchy at the top left. Those are the 2 teams. And you've got Noble on the bottom right. They took over the truck. They have to come out before everybody else, so they'll be in the sight lines. So will BenchWarmers. Look for them to potentially fight each other. They've got shots going right now, down to 1.5 minutes. Bubbling forward is going to be Noble. It looks like an Arc Star was eaten. BenchWarmers, they're going to shell up here, try and poke around and see if they can get a fight.
Absolute Monarchy are taking a totally different fight, though. Noble might end up just jumping in on that to try and third party while they still can. BenchWarmers actually seem to have avoided violence for now, but they're still being held out by Noble. Now pushing down. Noble are not expecting this, and the rain of fire just continues as Madness does get chunked out, but cannot be pushed into the now caustic defenses. They still got Noble right below them, and they cannot relax yet. BenchWarmers have a world of hurt to go through as it looks like Neanderthals are winning their own fight against Absolute Monarchy. Blitzen has managed to find some kills. The L-Star has Noble running at the BenchWarmers. The Gibby bubble goes down to isolate the 2 fights, and it's BenchWarmers that come out on top, finding the complete knocks onto Noble. Now it's them against the Neanderthals, with 1 member of Absolute Monarchy still in it. Sung Sung is playing a totally different game. He actually might have just sealed the deal as Neanderthals go out, and he's the last one left alive. He finds that kill, but he leaves the win to BenchWarmers.